What's hacking? It's Quackin', and welcome to another episode of That Time of Year, where I talk about games that I played during specific times of years, where I played them for the first time. In this case, it is Mario Luigi Superstar Saga. I played this game for the first time in November of 2010. I remember I got this game for doing good, getting on the honor roll towards the end of my grade school. And in doing so, my mom let me pick out a game, and we got a couple of games from GameStop at the time. I remember when they used to have used Game Boy Advance games. I'm sure some GameStop still have this. I know mine don't. I remember when they were getting rid of like GameCube and Game Boy Advance over time. And I think they still have some DS, but you know, who knows once they get rid of that. But I know there's been some retro stuff kind of here and there for GameStop. Me personally, it seems like the only way to get them is online, and even then, good luck with that considering inventory and, you know, scalping and pandemic, and we don't need to go down that hill spiel. We're talking about this game right here. So I remember I got this game November of 2010, and I had played Mario Luigi Bowser's Inside Story for the first time. I know that was a lot of people's first because it was the best-selling game. Really good game. I have some nostalgia for that game as well around this time of year because I got that one for Christmas a year prior when I got this, but this was my second entry in the Mario and Luigi series. I always had big memories for the Game Boy Advance. Very nostalgic memories, because that was one of my first handhelds or consoles I played, being the Game Boy and then the Game Boy Advance SP. And because of that, just the graphics and the music and all that kind of stuff were really nostalgic, and because I really liked what I played so far of the Mario and Luigi games, being, you know, Bowser's Inside Story. I had beaten that game earlier that year. Then I was like, you know what, Game Boy Advance, let's try this game. And at first, I actually didn't realize this was a Mario and Luigi game. I thought that there was only one style of that game so far, being I've only played Bowser's Inside Story. At the time there was Partners in Time. I wouldn't be playing that until then next year, but really great game overall to have as a second entry, and honestly, it might even be my favorite. I have a lot of nostalgic memories. I always constantly think about this game. I have two very distinct memories as well while I was playing this that I can go back and just, you know, flood with memories. Overall though, fantastic art style, fantastic, you know, OST. I love my OSTs in games. This is another one of my fan favorites for me. Just phenomenal stuff. The underground theme, the boss theme, the Super Mario Bros. Remix theme when you're at their house, the world map, Popple's boss theme, even the final boss theme. It's a fantastic game. It's a difficult one. It has some flaws as well, but overall, very fantastic entry. And I think it's a lot of people's favorites as well. Very unfortunate that Alpha Dream no longer exists. You know, we did have the remake on the 3DS. It is a good remake. In fact, they make the game more difficult, less nostalgic because there's some sprites and enemies that have changed. But we're talking about this game in particular. And whenever I usually do go back and replay this game, I want to replay this game. The remake, you know, I want to give it some love. And as much as I want to be liberal about it, I want to replay this one because it's the one I grew up with. Even though I didn't. You know, I was barely alive when this first released, and even though, you know, I played it, you know, 8 years later, roughly, after it came out, to me, you know, it's still very nostalgic for me. You know, 12 years under my belt with this game. This is probably one of the games I've beaten the most. 12, I'm going to say maybe 7 to 12 times I've beaten this game. I don't know. Save files kind of run out, but anyways, though, I guess we'll start off with my first memory. Now, I remember... as a kid, I would always struggle to beat like the final bosses and stuff, and because of that, I would end up just kind of like restarting a new save because I wanted to play more of the games I was playing. You know, when I find something I like, I absolutely adore it. In this case, Superstar Saga, definitely that case for sure. But with Superstar Saga, when I was just struggling so hard with the final boss, you know, it is a gruesome final boss. And I will spoil a little bit here if you haven't played the game, but basically, there's attacks that, you know, the boss will freeze time. You have to you have to use your prediction skills to figure out how to dodge its attacks. It will have like a super unavoidable arms attack, and the final boss has roughly 2 or 3 phases. And in its second phase, you start the boss fight with 1 health. I remember just how crazy this was, and you also get like absorbed into Bowser. And I thought that was crazy because I played Inside Story beforehand, so this is kind of cool to see like an early adaptation of that. You know, and to me, I had no clue this was a Mario and Luigi game. Like, I thought it was just like, yeah, I don't know what it was based in the cover. I saw there was some witch on there. I was like, who knows what was in store for me. When I played it and I saw it had the same, you know, jumping mechanics and bros mechanics, similar anyways to Inside Story. I was like, this is awesome. I loved Inside Story. I want more of this. And, that final boss, I had so much trouble with. I just decided, let's just replay some of the game, because I really like the intros to games. I love replaying them. I love watching the intro movies. I just love overall just playing the early portions of the game. And even though I was stuck at that final boss, I was like, I can still have fun with this game. I'm not gonna let this bring me down. And I remember I had beaten this game right before Christmas. It was on Christmas Eve of 2010, and I think it was a day or two before that. I was absolutely struggling with beating this game, and because of that, I was playing. I was practicing playing. Some just early game of it, some new save files, because I wanted to train and just have fun with the game, not be down in the dumps. And I was at a Kmart at the time, and bless its heart, rest in peace Kmart. I have a lot of nostalgic memories of Kmart. I could probably make an entire video on Kmart in itself, but I was at a Kmart, and this one it's out of business. I remember a lot of great gaming memories in there. But anyways, at this Kmart, I remember I was shopping with my parents for Christmas shopping, because it was around that time I just said I beat the game Christmas. I think it was like the 23rd, 22nd, something like that, and it was last minute Christmas shopping. And I was with them in Kmart. I think my mom forgot something, and I stayed out in the car with my dad, and I was just playing this game, having some fun. I was chatting with him for a bit, and I noticed an old man who set his cane down on a handicap sign for parking. And for whatever reason, he didn't need that cane. He walked into the Kmart with it. And my parents, they take a long time shopping. Like, I always, as a kid, when I'd be at the car with my dad or something, this is like a funny recurring theme for me. I would see them, like the same people. Like, I would see my parents go in, or I'd go in with them to go shopping, and I would see like these other people who just arrive around the same time, if not the same time as us, and we'd go in shopping, and 9 times out of 10, probably actually, no, 11 times out of 10, those people would come out of the store before us, and usually we'd be out within an hour or two afterwards, because we just love taking our time and being meticulous about things. I don't necessarily that's the case, just, time wasting and stuff. But anyways, because of that, my mom was taking a while getting whatever she forgot in Kmart for family members' Christmas present, and the old man was looking for his cane. And my dad was frantically, trying to, like, he likes to help people when he sees someone in need. He's like, oh, is there anything I can help with? Oh, I lost, my husband lost his cane. And while I was playing this game, just so happens, even though I was playing this game, you think I would be distracted. Some people, I don't know what it is, like, I've always had people say, like, oh, stop playing that game, you're being distracted, you're not paying attention to me. I like to think I'm a pretty decent multitasker, and I noticed that in the corner of my vision while I was playing this game. Probably no wonder I can't defeat the final boss, because I'm not focusing fully on it, but I noticed that, and he put this cane in the handicap sign, and I told my dad, hey, it's over there in the handicap sign. And then, the old man got it, and he was extremely ecstatic about getting this. And then, she wanted to give my dad $1. My dad said, actually, you should thank my son. He's the one who pointed it out, and then she gave the $1 to me. It was only really $1, but to me, in 2010, very big deal. I remember I was going to use that $1 for buying like a chicken wrap at Wendy's. They don't have those anymore, and I always like to joke that Wendy's shrinks their food so small that it disappears off the menu. Before, of course, you raise the prices, minus inflation, but I always loved those frickin' chicken wraps. I've tried to make my own, but just something about, how certain places make food, it's just not the same when you make it yourself compared to fast food, even though it's probably better and healthier then. But that aside, I don't remember what I used that $1 for, even though my memory is pretty freaking good. Probably for like a pack of Pokemon cards or something, but no, I didn't use it on that chicken wrap. I don't know, I think it's kind of strange, a kid using money for food, being dependent and stuff. You think they would use it in toys or something. It's probably what I used it for, but I just love those freaking darn chicken wraps. Now it's nacho fries for me at Taco Bell. But anyways, though, really cool memory right there. I remember I was going off to a family gathering, and I wasn't allowed to bring my Game Boy Advance in to this gathering. And I ended up beating the final boss right before we went to that family gathering. Like, it was like we had to get out of the car. Like, hey, get out. I had to hide my system so no one would take it. And that aside then, I ended up just beating the final boss. I was just the credits. And I didn't really consider that me beating the final boss. So instead, I continued, and when I got right back in the car for that family gathering on Christmas Eve, I beat the boss again, and I figured out how to do it. And the way I figured out how to do this was the peppers. The peppers were so broken in Mario Luigi Superstar Saga. There's a red pepper and the green pepper, and you eat these peppers, and they give you a status effect. 2 status effects, actually, a positive and a negative. And, you know, as someone who doesn't really care for stuff like that in games, Bug Fables, you know, that does it a lot, I know. I don't like stuff that has negatives and positives. I like stuff that has only positives, but life's about taking the goods with the bads, and I'm kind of noticing that, you know, now that I'm talking about this, is making me realize maybe I should appreciate those things a bit more in games, to where there are positives and then there's also negatives with things. Because, you know, Mario Luigi Superstar Saga, I ended up beating the game because of that. And if it wasn't for those darn peppers, those red and green peppers, I wouldn't have beaten this game. Of course, I had to finally get past the fact that the final boss, you have 1 health when you started off, and if your speed isn't high enough, you're probably going to die, and you have to refight the first phase before you do the second phase again. But usually I'd have at least 1 bro, I'd use like a 1-up super or something, revive them, and then I would use one of these peppers. Now, these peppers, the red one gives you an attack buff, the green one gives you a defense buff. And as I said, there's goods and bads to it. There's the goods, the bads are, you get like a heavy status, where if you want to dodge attacks, you have like a heavy status, and that would be a problem. And the green one would give you like a feather status. And I actually liked the feather status, because there was an item you could get, a bonus item, in Superstar Saga from EGAD of all people, and I thought this was such a cool reference. Granted, I played Luigi's Mansion a few years later after I had Superstar Saga, but I thought this was just an awesome little reference, how there's EGAD, there's the ghosts and stuff, and, you know, even replaying Superstar Saga, getting these little references with, like, you know, Luigi's Mansion and EGAD and stuff, it still tickles my heart. Even before, you know, I played this game before Luigi's Mansion, I still have nostalgia for these specific parts, and it makes me enjoy it even more now that I've gone back. It reminds me kind of like with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. People say to watch Breaking Bad first, but for me, actually, I watched Better Call Saul first, so in this case, even though I didn't really understand the references, going back and watching it makes me have a completely new understanding and appreciation for it. But anyways, so the fire pepper, the attack really helped just destroy the boss. And I wasn't very good as a kid with RPG games, my stats were all over the place, but with these peppers, it gave you the necessary status buff you needed. And then there was also the green peppers, which give you a defense buff. And I would usually just, what I would do is, once I have the bros turns, I would just give red pepper to one of the bros, green pepper to the other, and then I would just do vice versa. Or, either way, until they both were stacked. I think these lasted for a few turns, but either way, I would just destroy the boss doing this. And it was absolutely broken. There was a lot of broken things in this game, not just with enemies, but particularly with the bros. If you made the bros right in this game, and they did fix this in the remake, you could make them absolutely unstoppable machines. And because of that, you know, if it wasn't for those peppers, I probably wouldn't have beaten this game. I struggled so hard. And when I played Partners in Time later on, I actually couldn't beat that boss. It took me probably way longer to beat than compared to Inside Story and Superstar Saga. But even though there was peppers in that game, I just felt like they were way better in this, because they were certainly broken. But anyways, my other memory with this was in the, I think it was like the second, I like to consider this the second area, being Chocola Woods, where you are fighting, or you encounter Popple the Thief. I think not like the Phantom Thief, we're not talking about Persona 5. You encounter Popple the Thief, who's looking for the Chocola Reserve, which is like a soda that's been like aged for a long time, and it's told jokes. You know, they're laughing like sodas, and you know it's kind of funny. I mean, being in the Bean Kingdom and stuff, I forgot to mention that. But I'm just kind of talking about my memories in general. But anyways, I remember that that the boss you fight is actually like the Chocola Reserve. Like, it's the soda that's been aged for, I don't know, like 1,000 years, and you're with this guy who apparently is super old, which there's like a zipper on his back, and it makes you suspect that actually that guy is his brother, because they look similar. But I don't know, because it doesn't really make sense how someone's that old, but video game logic, I don't know, it is what it is. But anywho, with that being said, I remember I fought this boss, and I absolutely stunk at in these games bosses. And that was one of the bosses that I stunk at. But I remember when I was fighting it, and not only was I fighting it, but something else was fighting in the background. My siblings were fighting over Zuzu pets, and there's these baby Zuzu pets. And my dad just got this nice flat screen TV for free from a friend of his. And you know, it was a junky LCD screen that, you know, if you don't know about screens, if you tap on them a bit, these LCD screens, they'll flash. And they're very sensitive, unlike CRTs where those, you know, they're going to take, you know, a good hammer swing to them. But if you do that, they're probably going to explode. Then LCD TVs, you know, all it takes is probably like a good little, like, one little smack with the fist, or maybe even just a finger poke, and it's donezo. The TV already looked kind of not great, because those LCDs, they're just not really built to last. The colors look nice, but they're just not built to last. They're cheap TVs. You know, TVs, everything's just getting cheaper and cheaper these days, and those TVs in particular, they're the definition of cheap. And my siblings were fighting over this, and you know, I was having a hard time concentrating beating this boss, and that was definitely one of the reasons, but my babysitter went into the next room, and I was just kind of sitting on the far couch in the far end of the living room, and my siblings were just fighting over that, like, no, that's my Zuzu pet, that's mine. And from what I understand, they pushed it so hard together, this baby Zuzu pet, that it flew out of their hands, it bounced on the ground, and it just absolutely just demolished that TV. By that I mean, it only takes, you know, one good hit, and the baby Zuzu pet bounced off the ground, hit the TV, that was it. It wasn't working anymore. And I was like, uh-oh, and my dad just got home from work, too. My babysitter was about to leave, and my babysitter, you know, found that out, had to break the news to my dad. My siblings had to do that. The TV was free, though, but my dad had to tell his friend that, you know, his daughters busted it. We eventually did get another TV, you know, one that was actually plasma. You know, you could actually, you know, fixate with that without having to, you know, worry about it. That's the same TV my parents still have to this day. But that aside, I always thought that was a little funny memory. I remember I was playing the game and my siblings, you know, destroyed a TV in the process while I was fighting the Chocola Reserve, and that's something I'll never forget, really. But two really big memories right there. You know, one good, one bad. Not necessarily because it affects me, but yeah, there's that. And I don't know, this game, I always have, you know, just great memories with it. It's probably, I have a hard time always saying favorites, but it's probably one of the best GBA games to play. The story's phenomenal. The gameplay's phenomenal, the music's phenomenal. I remember I was retelling just the entire story in my head while I was on like a family vacation. I wasn't allowed to bring my game along, and I just wanted to replay this game. And I was just thinking like, oh, you start, you know, in Stardust Fields, and you make your way through Hoo Mountain, and then you make your way to the Queen Bean, and then you make your way to the Chocola Woods, and you know, so on and so forth. And you know, even though this game was really hard for me, I still really liked it for what it was. But anyways, happy 12 years to be playing Mario Luigi Superstar Saga. Absolutely phenomenal game. Absolutely phenomenal time. I recommend you get it. It's too bad that Nintendo's eShop is closing for the Wii U. That's one way to get it. I remember I had a friend who played this game for the first time, and they absolutely loved it. They found out through Trigger Conroy's Let's Plays, but I had played it a couple years prior before he Let's Played it. I'm actually more like 4 or 5 years prior, but his Let's Play definitely got me to replay this game. But yeah, this is just an insanely replayable game. Tons of fun. You know, the story never gets old. The music never gets old. The gameplay never gets old. Fantastic. You know, it's a game I'm going to be probably playing for years to come. But yeah, with that being said, you know, go play Mario Luigi Superstar Saga. Go replay it. You know, go think of your fondest memory. You know, tell me a fond memory you have about Mario Luigi Superstar Saga in the comments section. Just a great game overall, and I really hope that some of you share some great memories with this game, just like I do. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day, night, or time zone.